The administration continues to send mixed messages on North Korea. President Trump and Secretary of Defense James Mattis continue to emphasize a military option. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Tillerson suggested recently the United States may sit down with North Korea for one-on-one talks, no preconditions. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham says he believes there's a 30% chance of war with North Korea. For more on all of this, we go tonight to Michael Eisenhower. He's a National Coordinator Emeritus of U.S. Labor Against the War. Michael, nice to have you with us tonight. I think that let me play devil's advocate here for a moment, if I may. None of us want a war, but how are 300 million Americans supposed to take the word of Kim Jong-un that he's not going to hit the United States? This is the dilemma, isn't it?
It's not really a dilemma. You have to use a little bit of logic, and international relations has some logic to it. Kim would know that any such act on his part would lead to the obliteration of his country. Not only would he die, but millions of his citizens would die, along with probably quite a few South Koreans and possibly some Japanese along with it. And let's not forget, we have 28,000 U.S. troops in South Korea. So why would he risk his own security and the security of his country to initiate a war with the United States? So it makes no sense. He's not crazy.
So that logic that you're using right there is that we should just disregard all of the statements that he's made, and Trump has made them too as well. They've been back and forth, but he's not threatening Russia. He's not threatening China. He's threatening Japan. He's threatening the United States. He's threatening our allies. And are we supposed to think, well, he really doesn't want to self-destruct, so this isn't going to happen? Is that where we are?
Why would he threaten his allies, Russia and China?
Well, the point I'm making.
Why would he threaten the United States?
Well, he's not an ally he's not really an ally of Russia from the standpoint Russia doesn't want him to have nuclear capability. In fact, President Putin talked about that today.
You can have differences. You can have differences of political policy positions between allies. We have plenty of them with Germany, with England. That's not unusual. So every state pursues its own state interests, and clearly Russia has a different set of state interests. But the real reason, in answer to your question, is that they're not threatening North Korea. The United States has been. Let's not forget that the war actually never ended. We have an armistice, which is an interruption in hostilities, but not a peace treaty that ended the war. What Korea really needs is a treaty to end the war.
Personally, I think direct talks is a must. We've evolved to that point right now. And that was not the position of the United States in previous administrations. But to sit there and just pay no attention to what he is saying about hitting the United States, that's a pretty big gamble, I think.
Well, you don't have to ignore what he says, but let's be honest. We have two presidents whose, by personality, tend to overstate their cases. Let's be charitable.
Okay.
Their style of leadership is questionable, but that doesn't mean that he's ready to commit suicide. The United States needs to come to terms, and that means negotiating a treaty.
Okay. Mr. Eisenhower, that's all we have time for. I appreciate your time tonight and your insight on this. Thank you, sir.